Welcome back. You're still watching the news review right here on Power Breakfast on Citizen TV. Just before the break, we were discussing the big debate and the fact that both the President Uhuru Kenyatta and NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga have indicated that they may not take part in the debate come Monday. That's the big headline on the front page of the Standard. The story is also highlighted on the front page of the Daily Nation and given prominence on the back page. It should also be noted that one of the other candidates, Abduba Dida, has actually moved to court challenging this debate, seeking to stop the debate, saying that the playing field is not level. But we do have lawyers in the House, and they've indicated a willingness to comment on this matter that's already before court. But yes, Shulei, what do you say about that?
First, I want to make it clear, there's nothing that prohibits us in law from commenting on something that is pending in court. The rule of sub judice is clear. Provided I don't go into the merits and demerits of the case, and I do not say it in a way that is prejudicial to the outcome, then I'm allowed to comment on it. So, as I say that, I can comment on it. Yes. I don't know what the pleadings are. I'll be fascinated. As a studious lawyer, I'll be interested to see what exactly they are pleading and what law they are anchoring their requests to stop the debate, and what right is it of theirs that has been infringed, and the way they've presented it, how the court will interpret that. I'm actually fascinated to hear that, because I think also I think there are some issues that are political problems. And I think that once the Supreme Court did pronounce that in one of the cases, and said political problems should be solved in political field, isn't it? And things that are, because there's no need to bring everything that's political to come to the court. Yes. Yeah, because then the court gets caught up, and the courts lose authority also. Yes. When they're involved in every little political item. So I think, and I'm not very clear what the pleadings are, but it would be fascinating to see that.
The main complaint is that the debate is discriminatory, that not all the candidates have been given the same a level playing field. Some seem to be treated as second-tier candidates. Bonakababi.
You know,
I'm not so sure which question to ask you, because I also
no, but you know, the law of discrimination looks at if you discriminate me on account of my gender, on account of my tribe, on account of my race, on account of my station in life, and so on. It doesn't necessarily say discrimination when it comes to, because already the polls discriminate them. The polls are rather clear. They are already discriminated by the polls. So are they going to take the poll, the Wananchi, who gave the feedback to the polls to court? I mean, it's getting a little of a joke here.
You know, the right to be heard. You need to ask yourself, to be heard about what? Okay? And when it comes to the question of an issue like presidential debate, first of all, it's optional. It's optional. There is nothing mandatory.
We don't have to do it, yes,
about it. Okay? So any of the candidates can say, I'm not going to come. You cannot force it. That's what I'm saying. We need to have a presidential debate act that will define this thing, because it's a phenomenon that has become global. It started in America in 1960 during J.F. Kennedy and Nixon, and now eventually in America you can't get away with it. You can't get out of it. Today here we need to realize that it's going to be something that people are going to debate. For me, the issue is not that you go to court so the court can force that you must be heard. No. You'll be heard saying what?
Because even if the court forces you, I can switch off my television.
We don't hear you.
Yeah, so I will hear you anyway.
You get what I mean? Okay. But the practical thing here is this. Kenyans wants to hear two people debate each other, because these are the people who have presented their manifestos. Do you know the manifesto of these other fellows? Can you talk about it? Have you heard about it?
Well, I think Third Way Alliance launched one. The presidential candidate is the Kurwa Court. They launched a manifesto.
Yeah. But the point of the matter is, he has launched his manifesto, and with all due respect, he was my partner, so I know it. Okay? With all due respect. Today, even you, the press, what prominence are you giving? You're giving NASA a manifesto. prominence, you're giving us Jubilee manifesto, and that's what it is.
Okay.
We are debating. Okay. And we have to realize time is very limited. And time is of the essence to the audience to make a decision which way I'm going to do things.
Okay.
So besides legal contests that we can have, people must be very practical.
Okay, if they're going to take anyone to court, they should also take the newsrooms, news media houses, because all the headlines are between Jubilee and NASA. All the headlines for the last 1 month. So that's discrimination if it is.
The debate itself has been organized by media houses jointly, so I think it's the media houses.
Yeah, a lot more lawsuits coming.
And the debates.
I think it's more to give them a platform, but a separate one.
Yes. Okay. I do agree they should get a platform. How that will pan out, we await to see. But the fact is, as it stands now, the big presidential debate still is happening on Monday, 10th of June, and then followed by another one on 14th of June between the running mates and the presidential on 17th between the presidential running mates, and a second presidential debate coming up on the 24th still of this month. Let's move away from Matters presidential debate and discuss this big headline on the front page of the Daily Nation. This has been one of the biggest talking points for the past 2 weeks or so. Immediately after the manifestos were launched by NASA and Jubilee respectively, this actually overshadowed discussions over the party manifestos, the number of dead voters, the number of dead Kenyans on the voters' roll, because the IEBC released the audited list of the voters register that same week, 19,611,000 to be exact. Now, quite a number of questions have been asked. ODM and NASA have really complained about the numbers and how the voters' roll looks like. Quite a number of questions have been asked here. If you could allow me, let me just go through them. Why did the IEBC only pick 435,000 records of dead from the 797,000 provided by the civil registration? What does IEBC intend to do about dead voters whose demise was never reported to the civil registration services? What will IEBC do about the 171,000 persons whose IDs and other details in CRS records are incomplete? And this is one of those major issues. 171,000 clerical errors that the IEBC has actually admitted to. Probably when you went to register, the ID number wasn't captured correctly, or probably they picked the serial number on your ID instead of the ID number. That's why the SMS platform is giving back results when you key in random numbers like 0 and 66. But the IEBC has come out and said it's not a big deal. No dead voter will come out and vote because we're using the biometric, and unless you go to a grave and cut the finger of this dead person and use it during that time, then it's not practical that these numbers will affect the elections. I know you disagree.
I think it's a big deal.
Yes.
I think it's a big deal because finally, as Kenyans, we need to be able to just have a register for various reasons. Yes, we're talking about biometric. Basically, you're going to go in and then you're going to put in your biometric details and then be able to vote. But even before that, for example, there are cases we're hearing of clerks who are moving names from one police station into another, and this is really at the level of competition. So hypothetically, moving names from one police station to another, that means you wake up that day, you will vote finally, but not at the police station where you wanted to vote. You've been disenfranchised, you've got to go to another police station. There are very many people calling and saying, you know, I just checked about my dead wife, she's still in the register. I checked about my other relative, he's still in the register. At the end of the day, and this is what we had the commission saying yesterday, we need to be able to see visibly the 19.6 at one go. I know from the Commission's response, what they said is that everybody had a chance to check, but then you're checking as an individual. You know, we want to be able to have, for example, at police station level and at ward level, being able to check and knowing that, okay, so these are the numbers, this is how we're going to arrange ourselves, this is the way we're going to plan to go about it, and not have all these irregularities. I think it is superfluous for somebody to say, you know, it doesn't matter. Here is a, you know, this is a not very tidy thing here, but don't worry about it, because we don't know. Anything can happen, you know, in the future. And then I want to go to the 256 cases, 256,000 cases, which really are the ones that caused a big alarm, because when you went and you were able to put in your any digit, 00, some people tried 00, some people tried 066, some people just tried different numbers, and data was coming out. And you know, we're coming from a particular place in Matters election. It's not like we don't have a background. We've had a background where there's fear, where you can end up with a denominator a numerator higher than a denominator, for example. We don't want such cases. We want those people who are only able to vote being the ones who should be able to vote. So I think it would be really nice at this point to talk about a process that was engaged in for a long time in terms of the audit with the KPMG, who really did a thorough job, and have a sense of even being able to unify our data and have one database. So for example, the database for those who are not living is quickly linked with the data for those who are living. And I think this is one of the things we're saying in our manifesto, for example, having just a one-time data so that all these sort of situations don't really open up any Pandora's of any sort. Because I think for many Kenyans, what we're looking forward to see is that these are the figures, these are the people who should be able to vote, these are the people who actually went and voted. Because we know, even from our primaries that have just happened, that many people try to do all sorts of tricks that people try to get extra ballot papers, and it confounds the numbers.
It is a game of numbers, and the discussion is about numbers. Numbers that do not add up, numbers that are not clear on the register. This could be used in any way, and one of the questions here being asked, one of the concerns, the very last one is IEBC confident that these anomalies will not influence the outcome of the election in any way? Just the fact that there are numbers that no one is clear about, that this and this, don't you think that, yes, as Senator Zani's claims, they hold water?
No, first, I want to say that it's true that having most of those issues as raised correct in the register and in the data is all right. But let's begin from one premise, and that's why I would want to, at least in the end, agree with Chebukati that where the rubber meets the road on the process and the outcome of the election is in the monitoring, because as he has quite clearly said, the umbrella of it, the real issue is the monitoring process. But then coming to the details of it, first, I see the first question is on the number of over 400,000 dead voters represented by civil society and the registration service, and then IEBC having dealt with about only 200,000. First, they'll have to prove that the 400,000 are actually in that register itself, because if they presented the 400,000, they don't necessarily have to be in the register. But if they're in the register and they can be able to pick out, and remember, this process probably is not yet closed, but even if it was, as Chebukati says, the voting is biometric, and so you would have to be really alive there to go and vote. Secondly, on what you've asked, are they sure that this outcome will not be affected by any of those anomalies? I would answer very simply, but I don't want to begrudge my good friend Zani here and my friend Kirwa on their side of the political divide. But largely, here at least they've come up with some numbers and so on. But largely, they have created this impression for quite a long time that they're not ready for the elections. That they've really tried to look for a lot of.
The issue is about the numbers.
That's what I said. In this one, at least they've come up with the numbers. But largely, if you look at where we started, they've tried to magnify most of the issues beyond probably logic.
Some of these questions being raised here are not even being raised by NASA or OCM. These are anomalies on the voters' roll. The same voters' roll that's going to determine. Remember, it is first past the post, and 171,000 clerical errors. Even if 10,000 from that number is used, not just at the presidential level, even in the other races, it could actually cause a problem. Don't you think that IEBC could have done a better job and given a watertight register? Is it even possible to have a watertight register?
Well, there are a number of challenges, and I will start with Senator Matangi's last statement. Really, we are ready for the elections, and I hope you are also ready to accept a defeat. Number two,
my friend Kira, you're the one who have
number two, let us remember. Thank you. Let us remember what they have been saying for the last 3 months. The first time that we don't have a leader, we got a leader. They said if it is Raila, we are not going to campaign. They are campaigning. They said we don't have manifesto. We have issued our own manifesto. They say we have copied. How you can do overnight copying and produce a document, I do not know. But finally, more important is that IBC has polarized the country. If there is a single factor, IBC, just like FM stations in the run-up to 2007, they prepared the public that there was going to be a problem. And indeed a problem arose, and 1,200 people died in Kenya. Now IBC can do a better job. Now when you talk about biometric identification of voters, we hope when you identify this voter, it's going to go to a certain system that will know those who have been positively identified as so many, so that we compare with those who will vote. Because what happens in some of the areas, and I've gone through 6 elections, and I know what happens in some of the areas. At 5 o'clock, when they realize the station is about to close, they check the register who has not voted, and through collusion of the clerks and some of the agents who are either compromised, they vote for those who have not turned up. So this is our fear. Finally, the last election was too close in terms of those who were pro Uhuru and those who were against Uhuru. The difference was less than 5,000. And therefore, this election is likely even to be tighter. Finally, please allow me to say it. And on August 9th, we'll see how the results will be. And I wish you well as Senator. Yeah, but at other levels it's different. Remember, it is 1 vote difference between the winner and number 2. Yes. So that 1 vote is so important. Yes. Even if it's 10,000 voters who are going to rise from the grave, vote and go back, it is a dangerous trend in our country.
Yes, Shole, these kind of numbers, because they're huge, 171,000, 17,000, 264,000, 435,000. In an election like this, don't you think IBC is just opening itself up for litigation? That immediately after the election, anyone can go and say, after all, the register wasn't clean. The same way we had problems with nominations, there were so many complaints about party registers, party lists. Don't you think this is the same problem that you're going to have after the election?
I think for the first thing I would do is, first I would like to ask Senator Zani and Honorable Kirwa here to also tell their team on the other side of NASA to please stop being alarmist and to please don't, because yes, these numbers do exist, but we must be asking ourselves what other mechanism exists to counter it. We are only telling people there is dead voters on the register, but we are not constantly telling people that we have. That is why we introduced the biometric register. And I'm speaking as a former election manager. I joined the Electoral Commission after we had the problem with the Kwivutu team. We came in, and hence the reason why the biometric register, biometric details being given was included, so that dead voters don't vote, isn't it? They can be on the register, but they will not vote. So we must give that assurance to the public. Number 2, we're not also telling the public that it is possible that during the time we are at the polling station, we will all have our agents. We should be focusing on saying, because we worry about people marking ballots, make sure the agents are well trained, and remember, each time someone from Tanzania will not vote. Why? Your name is called out as part of the election process. It is also a checking mechanism to ensure that that person who's not from that village is in fact voting. We also know that there is other mechanisms that for example, Senator Zani, you have said that that clerks are moving registers, people from one polling station to another. One thing I know, that is impossible for that to happen. You know why? Any clerk, I've worked in the Electoral Commission, no clerk has overwriting power to enter. They only have view rights. Others have rights to alter, but the rights to alter is only done at headquarters by a limited number of people. And remember, it is like the bank. You can trace to write to the individual whose password was used to make an alteration. Yes. So first of all, that is something that can't happen because they don't have that power. So clerks are not changing. So let's be calm about this, and let's be honest, and let's not cause a situation where causing anxiety around the public so that they don't trust the election. And also, lastly, remember, it is our responsibility as leaders to support the Electoral Commission to deliver a credible election, because we all love our country. And the way we can do it is when there is a problem, we assist them to correct the problem. And there is the political parties liaison committee that exists. It is political parties who come and sit with the members of the Electoral Commission in order to see mechanisms to keep taking care of the problems that have been listed here. I know what usually happens. What happens is, I know someone at your senior level at your party doesn't probably attend the meetings. You send someone at a different level, which means it becomes difficult to arrest the problem. But also, let us look at you are saying that the Electoral Commission is going to divide this country. But think about it. We have terrorized the Electoral Commission for the last several years, but they have not been able to work. First we said we don't like the commissioners were changed. Then we said we don't like the register. That debate went on. Then we stopped the tenders. I think, are we doing this to assist the Electoral Commission?
I need this question answered. These numbers, if we go into the election with these anomalies not corrected because the IBC says they're not a problem, don't you think that after the election anyone can go to court and challenge the outcome of the polls based on the...
Well, remember, it is not sufficient. You cannot just because a certain anomaly exists is not sufficient to overturn an election.
Not to overturn, but the number of litigation will rise, because anyone... Remember, we have quite a number of independent candidates, and this question is to Bwanakabage. Quite a number of independent candidates. Don't you think that any of these candidates, and I'm saying because we're only looking at these numbers at the presidential level, anyone, even the MCA candidates, could have a problem about this. The governors, the senators. Don't you think that so many problems with regard to the voters' role is just opening up the IBC to a lot of litigation after the elections?
First of all, don't worry. That's why we have the Constitution, and we talk about the due process. And that's a right.
But it is possible.
It is possible, but the point of the matter is this. Do you know how many people have died since we started this debate?
No. And
do you know how many people have died? People are dying all the time. All right? So, this idea, this myth about an obsession about dead voters are going to be, dead people are going to be voting, I think for me it is neither here or there. What we really need to do is this. Ask ourselves, as Kenyans, we have organized ourselves to have elections. We will be having monitors. We are having biometric system. Alright? We are going to have political parties also doing everything that they can be able to do. Now, can we reach a point and say, now we accept it is time for election? Let us not always create reasons why we should be suspicious. And I like what Lady Sholei is talking about. Because when we removed Hassan Commission, first of all, I disagreed with the way we did it. It was unconstitutional as far as I'm concerned. And it is good that those people agreed to come out themselves. Now we have new people, and even these new people, we are not giving them time to do things. We are ever creating reasons. We are a nation of suspicion. It is really sad as far as I'm concerned. And we are seeing ghosts all the time. And as I've said, from the time we came to this room, which is about an hour ago, nobody, including you, can tell us how many people have died who are supposed to vote.
Okay.
What is going to happen?
Because the numbers are beyond just those people who have died, there are also clerical errors. 171,000. I
want to say something. Yes. Let me finish. You see, US is the most sophisticated country in the world, even in managing elections. Okay? You have Donald Trump alleged, even after he lost, he won the election. He said there are 5 million people that voted, that ought not to have voted. The question I want to ask you, everybody in the US, including the institutions, have said forget what these allegations are. Now, I don't want us to get into Trumpism in this country, where we just make statements.
Yes, moving forward. If at all these numbers stay as they are, that the voters' roll stays as it is, with the errors that have been highlighted here, because the IEBC says it is not a big deal, after all you're using biometric voter identification. What happens? What next for ODM? What next for NASA?
I think it's important not to be superfluous and not to present arguments in a sort of distorted manner. it's true, you will never know who has died, because somebody might die even this morning. But there's a record. So you can actually give yourself an estimate of error in terms of the margin of the ones you've captured. This country has a process where somebody has died, then there's a process where they're going to report about it. So let's not talk about it like we'll never really know. When we are looking at systems, we're trying to make and put into place the best systems ever possible. That's what we're attempting to do. This is not the first election we've had. And you remember what happened even in 2013 after we put all these provisions in place. You remember about the biometrics that we were meant to use, the machines that we were meant to use, the BVR kits that stopped working suddenly. This has happened in the past. So when we're talking about these things, first, we're not being alarmist. We are actually participating in terms of a democratic right to make this election free, fair and transparent, and giving ideas for this. And this is what we have to do as a right for Kenyans to ensure that everything goes well. And when you're talking about how the commission changed, there were circumstances for each of the changes that took place. And it was all done in a very, meaningful way so that we have a good election. So the questions we're putting in are not alarmist. They're very direct. And really, if anybody is looking at the trend of even the way the campaigns are going, we were yesterday or the other day we were in Kiambu, the backyard of Senator Matangi. You saw the sort of reception we got. If there are people who are not ready for election, now it is not the NASA, it is somebody else. So we are ready. So we should. So I want to come to that question, but I want us to be very, very clear, because at the end of the day, even when you're looking at the processes that have been put into place, we need to be able to make sure they can work properly. Yes, what you're saying is that if, and we have to put a big if there, if we can actually go and check on the biometrics, all that reduces in terms of the problems. But you've raised another very important question. What if the numbers don't really all match? How are we going to be able to use the statistical analysis to know what happened where? If we cannot account, for example, for the 98 who, for example, registered with their passports and their passport numbers have not been taken into account, how are we going to do that? Because we are thinking, let's have that debate now. Let us have that discourse now. Let's not just...
But if the numbers stay the same, you're still going to the elections, because the accusation...
No, finally. I mean, this is the same thing that they say, you people are losing, you people are, but if nobody is able to read the mood of the country at this time, then there's nothing we can tell them.
So the elections,
yes. The elections are going on. Nobody has said we don't want the elections to go on. We want to encourage that these areas are addressed, and that's what we are also doing, going to the legal provisions, because even for the commission, and this is enshrined in the elections law 2011 and also 2016, and the publication of the register is something that is meant to be made public. That relevant register is to be made public at registration centers, at wards, and constituencies. Let people do, when people are doing due diligence, and people do this in all countries. I don't know why people get a bit nervous when people are doing due diligence. They're being called alarmists. There's nothing alarmist.
The
register is available to the public.
Yes.
People are meant to pay the 20,000. We've paid the 20,000. We're waiting for that register to come. We want to take that register to cascade it down to the wards. We want to take it down to the polling station. We are going to do diligence.
And that is not alarmist.
Let me get this clarification from another member of NASA, the Deputy Party Leader ANC. If these numbers stay the same, are we still going for elections?
Well, we're already on the highway to elections.
Okay. So that will not change.
What is important, and this is something that I find it anomalous, why doesn't IBC do the explanation? There is a lady who has been trying, one of the commissioners, to explain to us. We want more explanation from IBC, not from Jubilee. Really, for heaven's sake. Jubilee is also a participant in this election. And they are pretending now to be manning elections where they are also participants. It is important. This is our country. And being our country, we want credible elections. Should Uhuru win, we'll say hallelujah. Should Raila win, they should also accept it. But it's not about us saying we are going to lose elections. Losing elections is a process.
So the election
is an event.
Everyone is going to the elections.
We are going to elections.
On the 7000, when again, I mean, what were we to do? Were we to
when the system failed?
Were we to put numbers, and when we said no, it can't be alarmist. We have to be just sitting back, and we are saying there's a problem with the system. Check what it is. Get back to us. We are concerned party. We are participants. We are stakeholders in this process. We are all stakeholders in this process.
Before you even make your comment, a question about regarding what Bwana Kirwa said. Why is Jubilee always appearing to speak for the IEBC. Don't you think that that's counterproductive as well?
I mean, it's a debate. We are all participating in the elections. We want to make sure that these guys...
You're not concerned about the numbers?
We want to make sure that these guys come to the election. They've not been wanting to come.
Are you saying that these errors and all these issues raised here do not concern you simply because you're in Jubilee?
I have two issues to raise. The first, but before I raise the issue, let me assure my sister here.
Kindly answer my question. If you don't answer that, I'll
answer to the figure.
I mean,
are we saying that Jubilee is not concerned about these errors on the voters' roll? That you're okay?
No, I think I am concerned. Jubilee is concerned about these numbers. What I'm saying is, when I have reported, I know the register during the inspection period. Personally, within Uasin Gishu County, I went to the registration center and I was asking people, did you get your figures correct? Yes. And when they didn't, when they had problems with the register, or their names were missing, or there were dead people, we notified in writing to each of the clerks there and made sure we sent a copy to headquarters. So for me, I raised the issue, but with objective of ensuring that I resolve the problem. And then also, when we see the issue relating to the voters register, somebody used an ID and so on, there are ways of correcting it. So what we should be doing as leaders is demanding that these errors that exist, that something has been done to mitigate them and to correct them. That is what they are doing. And then about doing on the register, remember we have an opportunity. And I'm asking each and every politician, each and every political party to be vigilant. This register will be taken to the local IEBC offices. We should ask people to go and recheck again. With the SMS system, again, remember the SMS platform is done by a service provider. Sometimes it's an error in the way. So we ask, why did this error occur? When IEBC responds, we should sit in a meeting under the political parties liaison committee to ask, so far, and then obviously weekly.
You seem to be...
We're in agreement with that. And what I'm saying is, I have those issues, but I don't stand on a platform and make the country panic. I follow up to ensure that it is correct. We are, because I just mentioned, we have already gone, we've paid the 20,000, we've been required to pay the 20,000, we're asking for that register.
Exactly,
so we're definitely not talking. We're not definitely sitting and talking. And we're saying we have made such inroads, both in Kiambu and both in Rift Valley.
Coming back to that, the reason why, and Fred, allow me to answer my question. In my own way.
Go ahead.
But let me fast forward to that specific issue, because I wanted to come to it after. You see, from the answer you got from Kiro, it tells you simply that they know the truth and they know what to do. He told you very simple. He answered the question when you asked that what happens during the election process is that with these anomalies, after people have turned up to vote, then people will collude. That's what he said. That is how you rig an election. And they will go and either stuff ballots and whatever. But the answer was that was provided. That's very simple. One, we are using a biometric system. Secondly, even if people were to stuff ballots, the answer to all this, if it was to lead to rigging, and the rigging is done in the fashion that he said, then the answer is as simple as we said. It is in the monitoring of that process.
Okay.
To ensure
but it's also very easy. But
you want to get it right. We have to go monitor.
I think, from my point of view, yesterday, if any one of us cared to watch the
commissioner,
Chepkati's deputy, the lady,
Dr. Akombe,
she was very good in explaining to the in that program, and she said IBC pleaded with people to go and check their names in a registered center, right? And therefore you cannot say IBC has not done what they have already done, because you did not go check. The Shorei here said that you, in every polling station, these things are going to be available. As Zani there has said, they have already asked for the register. They are going to get the register. Alright? So it's not even an issue. If they got a blunt no, that there's not going to be a register, then one can be able to argue. But for now, let us not cast aspersions.
Okay.
against the IBC.
Okay.
There's something I just wanted to add.
I want us to wrap up the news review with this.
Can I just add something very quickly?
Yeah, okay.
Just to say that when we're checking, we went to check as individuals. You know, so somebody checked on the tail, somebody checked on the head. But I want to have the overall picture. There's no way that the system, the camp system, does not allow me to check for somebody else. So, for example, if in that register we have, for example, Rwandese or Ethiopians, for example, I wouldn't be able to know just by checking for myself. So that's why we need that unison register so that we can all cross-check across
what the lady said,
that's important.
The deputy chair said this, that it was open to everybody.
It is a
political leaders, and particularly political leaders, because they are the ones who have got interest, that they should have gone during the 1 month window that was open, and they did not even go. Now, I'm agreeing.
This is really, this false accusation. We checked.
I'm agreeing with you.
We checked, but the issue is, having checked, all these issues are not raised by NASA. It's raised by Media House. Can we address them?
So what do we do to mitigate them?
So what we have to do to mitigate is exactly go back to what the law says.
The system is faulty, and that faulty system should be rectified. Whether it is a service provider or whatever is the case, we need to have a foolproof system. So that when I go to vote, I know my vote is going to be there.
So we go back to the same point.
What happened is that you find many of, when they know that this is your stronghold, they shift some of the registers. Somebody goes there, he realizes his name is not there, he's told to go to Kapsara from Kesogon, for example. By the time he reaches Kapsara, it is already time back.
Okay,
and somebody has been in the line for morning. What we are saying is, let us have a system that we believe in and we also believe in.
This is already in place. There's the electoral law, there's the electoral law, and there's section 33(1) is very clear. There's an election law which is already in place. Both the 2011 and the amendment 2016. And it's very clear that IBC needs to make this provision of the complete register. So that's not something for us to debate. Let me finish, please, Shole. Let me finish. So we have already that clearly done. We've already engaged in the process of doing that. So we're not just saying that, you know, we're identifying these issues. We're saying we want to validate. We'd like to have this. We've already engaged with IBC as they have instructed within now and the election, so that we can go and ensure that this provision that is put, that available for inspection at the registration center ward and constituency commission offices, which is the law, I think also that Dr. Akombe quoted yesterday, can be fulfilled by the political parties at a macro level, not micro level.
It's important for the public to know very clearly. As we stand today, I have also personally paid to get the entire register. My hard drive is at the offices there. We fill the form, we've paid. You have done the same thing as a party. You and me know that as at today, the register was not yet available, isn't it? ISBC are still doing the cleanup. So even that cleaning up, we've seen in the newspaper, these numbers will change. So I think, let us wait. I think they've said latest Monday, we shall have the register. Each of us will have got the register, the whole register as you want, Senator Zani. I'd like us to come back to this show and see how many few other errors are remaining. So let's be fair to IEBC.
We are being fair to IEBC. It's a continuous process, and we agree with that, and we are saying very clearly that that's what we are communicating. But you see, with this whole process, it's not a process that you get to Z and then comment. You comment as you go along, so that you're working together.
We need to wrap up on this. There's one more headline I want us to discuss.
Finally, what I wanted to say, Fred, is very clear. You see, the numbers here are known. Actually, to the detail, you see, they're talking about, what about 171, 476. So, in each of the keys that is categorized where there's an anomaly, the exact number is known.
So that
means it's not a secret. And secondly, that it is an ongoing process where identification of those errors is already, you know, picked out. But let me
just add something very quickly. Let me just add something very quickly. Let me just add, I know, but let me add why we keep going back to it. Because you remember we had a process, and then at the point at which the audit had been done by KPMG, we'd actually expected all these issues to be sorted. So by that point, by the time we were coming to look at it, we finding these issues. It is a process, and we are raising the issues at the various processes. So let's not look at it in terms of like, why are we keeping talking? Because every time something is coming up, we expected clarity after the audit. That is
a press review, and we are reviewing what is happening today in the media.
Exactly.
So please, let's not confuse issues.
Yes.
We didn't come here to accuse IBC. We are saying this is what
I think
we
and I think both sides of the political divide represented here are in agreement. There is a problem, we all agree, and we all say it's
except I want to help in making sure it works.
Well, we all want to do that. Why wouldn't we want to do that? We want a credible election.
And there is 33 days to the elections. The problem is being worked on. Let's move on to another headline, because there are quite a number, and this one is political. Yes, and back to the campaign trail, what we've been hearing from both President Uhuru Kenyatta, his deputy, and the NASA leadership as well, and it has to do with the 2022 election. 2 days ago, on Tuesday, the Standard, to be specific, was talking about the promises being made with regard to 2022 and the presidential race come that election. That was about 35 days to the 2017 election. That story features again on page 19 of the Standard. NASA and Jubilee dangle 2022 presidency to tricky areas. Of course, it has to do with President Uhuru Kenyatta's promise when he went to Ukambani. He spoke about Kalonzo Musyoka's chances come 2022, working together with his deputy. That same day, Deputy President William Ruto was in Bungoma, even went ahead and promised that the 2020 to give CS Eugene Wamalwa the position of running mate in 2022. Raila Odinga also commented on the fact that he's only running this for one term, and then come 2022 it will be Kalonzo Musyoka's turn. Question is, we should be talking about 2017. Why are we focusing more on 2022? Are we saying that the race in 2022 can actually have a bearing on 2017?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we should appreciate, politics is dynamic, and when leaders are marketing their concept or their idea, they try as much as possible to insulate their voters and to welcome as many voters as possible. And for example, what Senator Zani said is that when Raila went to Kiambu, he was welcomed, and I personally felt very good. Do you know why? That is what I would like to see everywhere, so that if Uhuru goes to Nyanza, right, which is a stronghold of Raila, he should be equally welcomed. But also remember, when Uhuru went to Ukambani, he was equally very welcomed. Now, this demonstrates a level of maturity that is actually admirable by the Wananchi, because the welcome was not by the leaders. Remember that. It is by who? The Wananchi. What the Wananchi are saying, welcome, sell us your ideas, sell us your manifestos, sell us what you can be able to do. And that is something for us to celebrate. Now, when the issue of 2022 comes in, all right, there is a feeling that yes, we are a country that is thinking that we're going to be alive in 2022, and therefore who are likely to be presidential candidates. The dynamics could change yesterday, and that's why, and there is nothing wrong.
Hence the question, why are we discussing
human beings? Let me tell you, I'll tell you something. Human beings, by their very nature, are allowed to take a mental flight, and there's nothing wrong for anybody taking a mental flight to 2022. Or even 2042.
The question is, Lady Shole, that so many questions surrounding this particular election. The manifestos, we're not even bothering to discuss them in depth. Yeah, there's so much about this election we're not talking about. Why talk about 2022?
I think you must think about it this way. Manifestos are about hope. It's about promises. It's about the future. It's not about what we plan to deliver. So if it is an issue, if 2022 is an issue to the people you're addressing, they want to know that. It is your responsibility to respond to it. So I think it's not out of, in other places, 2022 is not an issue, but in some places it is. So yes, it is a message of hope and promise.
Well, I don't think I have much to add, except that our political paradigm is still devoid of issues, ideas, and also concrete items that you want to deliver. So you want to deliver individuals, in the process you want to sell hope to the people of certain constituency, or hoping that all those guys who are going to be presidential candidates will be alive by 2022, and also they are going to be relevant. There are many things that can happen between now and 2022 that some of those guys will be rendered totally irrelevant. And by 2022, they will not even be candidates for even at the lower level.
And don't you think that even the electorate is alive to that fact that 2022 is way ahead? And we know that after every election, the next 5 years, a lot does change.
Yeah, but I think that discussion is informed by the fact that people are running in teams. You know, for example, for us in NASA, we have Raila Amolo Odinga as the presidential candidate, and him having declared he's going to give to Kalonzo in the next term. And
so
I think
secure this election by promising.
No. I think it's again, you're looking at people also coming up with various manifestos, and you want to have some level of continuity. I do get worried, for example, in this country that we're able to change educational systems every other 4 years and just change from an 844 change to 16 years old. 16 years. We keep changing too much. We don't have a stability, and I think this probably is people trying to address that level of stability. But I think also that devolution has really offered so much leadership opportunity and space. And look at senators who would have served their second term. What will be they trying to run to? They will want to be senatorial, governor candidates, and some of them are going for presidential. You have so many governors, for example, who have served as governors. They finished their second term. What will they be going to? They'll be thinking of going to presidential. We've had now 8. We had more presidential candidates. We're going to have so many more. So I think the future cannot be predicted as per now. But I think everybody is in their right space to create their own reality and to begin to want to sell that reality to the people. This is a reality. This is a reality. This is a reality about continuity. This is a reality about people's ambitions, and it's just that other people have also created that space, and they said we want to be able to move in this particular direction at a particular time. So I think it's a discourse again that's going to open up many discussions and many insights that probably we didn't have, just like the way for independence it did. It was something that just came suddenly, and now we're coming to try to analyze and see where it takes us to.
Senator Omatang.
I think you started it very well by saying that now we dove into what is political, and I think politically looking and feeling at the temperature in the country. The reason why people are focusing and now speaking about 2022, and seriously so, is because they already know the outcome of 2017. I mean, 2017 is a jubilee. I mean, even you guys in the press already know that. That's why
I like your imagination.
And anyway, Kirwa, I've been hoping because and there's nothing wrong about talking about about 2022 past 2017 with that in mind. And I remember when your boss in NASA was sharing the government, that's when they launched Vision 2030. And I've been hoping that he can be magnanimous now and forward-looking to launch Vision 2032 for NASA. But however, I'll tell you what. Right now, with the campaigns that we've been doing, everything points very clear. The election of 2017 and the results are out already. So Jubilee is taking
still 33 days to the election.
In 2022 and 2017, the reason why we are trying now to rearrange and see in 2022 how do we find you guys still being relevant somehow. You can do something.
Anyway, thank you so much. We are out of time completely. Chef Ali is already cooking up something. We don't want the food to burn. So we do not have that minute. We do not. Okay, my director.
Actually, the one I wanted
to close any more time.
I wanted to close with the one.
I've been informed we do not have any time. So yes. Thank you, Senator Zani. Unfortunately,
for NASA, 20% for Jubilee.
Thank you so much, Senator Zani. Senator Agnes Zani, Secretary General ODM, Kimani Wamatangi, Senator Kiambu, Kipruto Arapkirwa, Deputy Party Leader ANC. Allow me to thank my panelists.
Next time.
Senator, and these are senators. This is how they debate at the Senate. Unfortunately, Kipruto Arapkirwa, Deputy Party Leader ANC, Gladys Boss-Sholei, a candidate, Senator, please. Candidate for woman representative was in Gishu County, and Bwana Karanja Kabage, a candidate for MP in Njoro constituency. Thank you so much for helping us look at the headlines this morning. Wow, it's been an exhausting one. My name is Freddy Ndimuli. I need to give way for Chef Ali, Willis Proburu, Enjoy Muvengi to cook up some breakfast. Good morning.